Hi, and welcome to ECCB Connects. The ECCB Monetary Council met on 15th February at the ECCB headquarters in St Kitts and Nevis for its 93rd meeting to receive the Governor's report on monetary and credit conditions in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Following the meeting, Chairman of the Monetary Council, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Council Member for St Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, and ECCB Governor Timothy N.J. Antoine engaged members of the media in St Kitts and Nevis on a number of issues, including Republic Bank's takeover of Scotiabank's business in the ECCB member countries, payouts to BAICO policyholders, correspondent banking relations, fintech, and the ECCU Credit Bureau. We bring you an excerpt from that media conference.
Can we get an update on the sale of the proposed sale of Scotiabank in the territories and Sagicor, and if there are any concerns, especially as it relates to the insurance sector with the Sagicor sale?
On the Republic matter, that is to say the central bank now fully engaged on the review of the application made by Republic Bank to acquire the operations of Scotia in the Eastern Caribbean. We've asked for significant data sets and information from Republic. We have gotten everything we've asked for. At this point in time, we obviously reserve the right to ask for more as we go. But based on what we've asked for, we now have a full data set in front of us, and we are examining that. As we indicated before, the application process also includes us engaging our peer regulators. That is to say, for example, the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, even the Bank of Guyana, and others. We started to do that. In fact, only last week, the regulators met in Aruba, and there was a college of regulators on Republic Bank. And so we are proceeding. You may want to know what the time frame is. We are not able to put too fine a point on it, except to say, in law, we have 6 months after receipt of all information. So we would not expect a decision before the middle of the year at this point in time. Insurance.
Let me preface my answer by saying that a second distribution under the BAICO plan was planned for December 2018, but there were issues that delayed that, and the second distribution is planned for the first quarter of 2019, the second distribution. As at August 2018, a total of 43.3 million, representing 98% of the value of payments, EC payments, was made. In terms of US payments, 6.3 million, representing 91% of total payments, was made. In terms of the discrete payments, for EC, 1,202 payments were made, representing 59% of all payments. And for US, 201 payments were made, representing 90% of the number of payments to be made.
If we could get an update on the correspondent banking situation, we keep hearing from other sources outside of the Caribbean that our Caribbean banks continue to lose those relationships, and we're not getting any information on the regional level. And if you could say what's going on with that, and if there's any progress being made in mitigating that risk.
At this moment, we continue to face a real threat of the loss of correspondent banking relations. That's the existential threat. However, we have seen a stabilization. That is to say, we have not seen additional loss of correspondent bank relations among our banks. So there has been some stabilization, and that's probably why you're not hearing a whole lot. Now, the pressure is still there. The pressure is real. We still run the risk of a correspondent bank calling any one of our banks tomorrow morning and saying, we continue, and when asked why, simply respond and say, it's a business decision, no further explanations. That's a real threat. However, we have been able to work with the correspondent banks. The banks themselves have reached out. The ECCB has reached out. Our government heads have been engaging through advocacy at various levels with the IMF and others, and we have seen some stabilization in that system. We do continue to make the point, however, that as part of a defense mechanism to secure and protect our correspondent banks, it is absolutely important that our banks look for further collaboration and consolidation. That is to say, one of the real issues here is not just the risk profile of the region, but the size of the transactions or the size of the business. For some of the correspondent banks, that is what it boils down to. This is not sufficiently attractive or profitable for me vis-a-vis the risk, and therefore I'm exiting. And so we've encouraged our banks to come together more and more. And I can tell you right now, without going into details, that there's an initiative afoot to look at whether we can collaborate on risk and compliance across the indigenous banks. One shared service that will actually lower their costs, but also give additional comfort and confidence to not just us as regulators, but even the correspondent banks about the ability to take care of things like AML, anti-money laundering, and combating financing of terrorism. So that's a work in progress, but the good news is that the situation has stabilized.
Based on the economic climate in the region, is there any concern from the Monetary Council that more foreign banks, or international banks, as they refer to them, such as Scotiabank, would leave the region?
The governor did point out that a number of regulatory issues and the whole question of some of the risk that these banks are facing, we're seen as a small financial area of the world, and some of them may think that if they're caught in any one specific incident, the cost, they certainly outweigh the risk of the cost involved. So I think they're thinking of their own interests. That's how I see it, and I think that's the feeling of most members of the Monetary Union, that they just don't see us worth the risk of what the world is facing at this particular time, and given some of the big stick that we are seeing coming down on us, with one given time, you blacklisted all our region and a matter, and they couldn't even explain why they did it. So facing those risks and the banks involved, and decide, why should I, face those consequences that we see coming? So as I said, it's speculation on our part, and maybe we are quite correct.
Digital currency, I know the central bank had spoken about that some time ago and actually raised alert or caution rather for persons who are engaging in trading of digital currency to be careful. It's still unregulated. Is that something that the central bank believes should be regulated, or should member countries be looking at that? What are some of the plans? I know there are some initiatives that you spoke about, not going into grave details, but are those initiatives still on course for where the central bank is concerned as it relates to digital currency?
In terms of cryptocurrency, I just want to be clear. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. The challenge with cryptocurrencies is that they're not regulated. Their values are very volatile, the prices, and people could get hurt. So that is why on at least 2 occasions, the ECCB has issued an advisory warning the public to be careful. What do we say? Do you know anything about this product? Do you understand the product? Can you afford to lose this money? Is this entity regulated? They'll provide up the service. If there's a dispute, who will you go to? Those are some of the questions that you need to ask. And unless you have satisfactory answers to those questions, you ought to be very careful. We do not want the public to get hurt. Now, the ECCB is itself pursuing a digital currency. That is different. It's different because it's a digital EC dollar backed by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. And there are several central banks in the world, actually, that are contemplating what we call central bank denominated or digital currencies, central bank digital currencies. So for us in the ECCB, we are very much proceeding with that pilot, where our thinking at this stage is to say, take out some of the paper and replace it with digital. People use their smartphones and make their payments. It's faster, it's cheaper. We will obviously want to make sure it's in a secure environment. And we believe that that has the potential to actually stimulate economic activity, to move payments faster, and of course to give people more disposable income, because if you're spending less on payments, it means you're keeping more money in your pocket. So we are, in fact, proceeding with that. We are into very advanced discussions now to launch the pilot, and we will come back to the public in due course on that.
On that same note, we've noticed a number of cashless service providers at least in St Kitts and Nevis, and I'm assuming this is the case across the ECCU as well. Is there a concern that that these services could pose a risk, if anything, to the traditional banking services that are being offered, or are they regulated just as much as the banks themselves?
We do not envisage a situation where we will eliminate cash. And that is not a desire or a goal. There will always be cash, as far as we can tell. However, we do feel that we have too much cash usage, and there are inefficiencies to using all of that cash, and there are security concerns as well. So when we say reduced use of cash, we start with the premise that based on what we've observed, about 80% of all transactions in the ECCU are cash or checks, paper-based. We believe we can cut that, or we want to motivate ourselves to cut that by about 50% over the next 5 years. So whether it's at the level of governments digitizing payments to the public, whether it's at the level of consumers, and of course even the central bank's role in terms of facilitating, we believe we can make a difference. Remember, we want to raise the trajectory of growth in the ECCU. We're doing 3% right now. Can we get to 5? That's one additional step that could help us get to 5. So the conversation is not about eliminating cash altogether, but about reducing our use of cash and hardening the financial system against crime. And I think we all know crime is an issue across the region.
Chairman, Mr. Mitchell, you mentioned in your statement that there were 4 member countries that have not yet enacted harmonized credit reporting bill. Could you name these 4 countries?
I can assist the chairman with that. I mean, that's a detail. So essentially, the 4 countries that have passed it are St. Vincent and Grenadines, St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada, and Antigua and Barbuda.
Let's suppose that everybody gets on board and the credit bureau is established. How will this benefit or affect the ordinary man? Because I don't think that there is enough clear information out there as how the ordinary man will benefit from this.
The reality is right now, there are people, especially small businesses, who cannot access credit because they have no track record, they have no collateral, they have no history, the banks do not know them, they have no real way of assessing the risk and pricing the risk, and therefore they essentially cut them out. They don't have a chance. A credit bureau gives you a chance to develop a database that banks, financial institutions, inclusive of credit unions, can use to help price, assess, and price risk. And the pricing is important. There are small people who pay very well, better than maybe even some larger borrowers. But unless you have that information, you probably will charge them more for a loan in terms of the interest rate, the price of the risk, the price of the loan, than you otherwise would, absent the information. So the benefit is that, 1, you get more information, which means that people have a better chance of being considered. 2, if your risk is assessed and you are good credit, you'll get a lower price. 3, very importantly, it encourages both responsible lending and responsible borrowing. And that's important. So at the level of the financial institutions, we need to make sure that they are lending responsibly. And they need to have information so to do. But at the level of the borrower, you also want to encourage responsible borrowing. Because the last thing we want for the same quote-unquote ordinary folk is for them to make poor financial decisions that ruin them for life or for a long time. And the Credit Bureau presents an opportunity to help them and to help the financial institutions as well.
To view any episode of ECCB Connects anytime, any place, at your convenience, check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn at ECCB Connects. And now, this week's financial tip.
Do you have insurance coverage for your health, property, or vehicle? Insurance coverage can provide you with financial assistance in the event of a catastrophe.
We've come to the end of this episode of ECCB Connects. If there's a topic you'd like us to discuss, send us a message on Facebook. We will be happy to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and join us next week for another program.